Okay, I think we're live. Hi, this is Don Jessop, the Breakthrough Guy, and my beautiful wife, Rachel, and we are going to talk about some really important stuff today. So I want to ask you a quick question. Here's the question. See if you can read it. The question is, what is most important? Bonding and friendship, respect and discipline, balance, or none of the above? It's not a trick question. It's a pretty simple question to answer. Pop one of these open for me. Balance, right? Balance is the most critical element of leadership, which is what we end up talking a lot about in these little go live videos. My wife and I, we talk about leadership, horsemanship. We have a lot of our audience who are absolute just horse nuts. So we want to give you some tools, some techniques. We want to give you some strategies. Thank you for joining us right now. And specifically, we're going to talk along the lines of balance. So I'm actually going to hand this phone. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be backwards. Let's fix
keep
that.
it the right way then. The right way.
That's all right. Hold that for me.
All right. Trying something new. Trying something new.
Okay. We talk a lot about balance. Balance is the most critical element in all of leadership. But if you don't believe me, just think about this. If you weren't balanced right now, you'd be flat on the floor. You would have fallen over right now. And if your pH wasn't balanced, you'd be riddled with diseases. You would be on your deathbed. The balance in your life is incredibly important. And we're going to talk about it in a couple different forms. One of those forms we hinted at last week. We call it the bonding to training ratio. And if you're bonding to training ratio with your followers or your horse, in many cases here, those of you who are watching now, if that's not 50-50, it is out of balance, and you're not going to have the relationship you want. I'm not just talking about having the friendship you want. You're not going to get anywhere without the proper amount of training, but you're also not going to get anywhere without the proper amount of bonding. So we've got to have total balance. We talked about that last week, and we had a question. We had a question come in about that this week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to invite questions and comments as we go along here. I want to thank you for joining me. But we're going to talk about balancing energy. And I got a lot of really great stuff here for you. So we're going to use this really simple scale of energy high and energy low. If it's too high, you don't get what you want. If it's too low, you don't get what you want. And what I want to do for you is give you a really simple scale on 0 to 10, with 5 being in the perfect middle. That's balance. I want you to be able to measure at any point in time where you are. And I'll give you a couple of specific examples. Let's say, well, let's talk about you. Let's not just talk about horses for a second. Let's talk about you. If you don't have enough energy to get up and go outside and play with your horse, your energy's too low, what do? There's got to be some strategies for this, right? So first things first, I want you to measure where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 to 10. So you're going to measure it. And if you are a 3 or below, your energy is too low to get up and go ride your horse, or if you're not a horse person, to get up and go make some money, to get up and go make a phone call. If your energy is too low, what the heck can you do? First, you've got to measure it. You've got to know where you are. And if you're way down here, you're in trouble. You need some help. You need some help right now. But if you're 3, 4, and 5, you can do this. All you have to do is find a way to bring the energy into your body. And one of the ways that we know how to do this is with a cold shower, with a cold, big drink glass of water, great big drink of water, an energy drink, anything that will radically change your physiology. If you're low, you have to get up. You have to do stuff. And you can't just wait for that to happen. You have to snap to. That's how we get our energy up into the balanced range. Step 2, that's what we did. We just adjusted our energy level. And it doesn't even have to relate to the task. I want you to understand that. It's about your body and your physiology. When energy comes up, you can do any task. When the energy's balanced, you can do any task. Okay, so we measure it, we adjust, and lots of times when we adjust, we go too far, we get up here. So step 3 is to remeasure, and of course step 4 is to readjust. And we go back and forth. This is life, right? We just go back and forth with trying to get enough energy to do it, and then slowing down, too much energy, constantly looking for balance. Now, I have a really simple little thing I do at my clinics. If you're below 5, what you need is lightning. You need electricity, something that will radically change your body. If you're above 5, what you need is to wind down. You need to cool off. And I'll give you an example. We'll come back to horses now because I know so many of you are horse lovers. What do you do with a horse who has his energy way too high? It's up there and you can't connect with him because it's so high. What do you do with that horse? Well, you don't want to send any electricity. You don't want to snap to. That doesn't work. You have to do something that will wind the horse back down. And we call this an infinity pattern. It has no real direction. In fact, it's the opposite of any direction, because the minute you go on a straight line, it encourages more power. When you redirect the energy, it's like kinking the water coming out of a hose. It redirects and it flattens the energy, and it changes it. If you kink that hose enough times, you get less and less and less energy out of the hose. So what we do is we unwind all that energy. Now, that's the basic strategy. Don't have enough energy? You need something electrical. You need to change your physiology. You need something to ramp it up. You have too much, you unwind it. Very simple. Measure, adjust, remeasure, readjust. That's life in balance. That's the way we are so effective with our horses and with our training and with ourselves. Now, I'm going to sit down with Rachel here for a second. We had some questions. Give me some time to switch my camera around here. We had some questions come in. Hi again. And Rachel's going to sit down with me and ask those questions. By the way, if you're here with me now, go ahead, sit there. I want to invite you to ask questions. I mean, this is what makes it fun. This is what makes it interesting. So, what are your questions about horses, about leadership, about life? I can't answer everything. I'm not a genius. I'm not a prophet. I'm just a guy here trying to have some great time with some really great people online. Kathy, thanks for joining. Michelle, thanks for joining. Now,
Hi, Susan.
hi, Susan. So I want to invite your questions. You got questions about horses? You got questions about anything? We had a couple of questions coming in last week. So
And I have those.
Go ahead.
So, first question is, from last week, it was about the training cycle. The question is, when should you quit? What if your horse assumes what you want and does it before you ask, should I stop then or carry on and ask again?
Ooh, you guys remember the training cycle? Do you remember it from last week? I gotta get a new marker. I love the training cycle. Okay, here we go. I hope you can read this because I have a mirror image here. I hope it comes across right. Training cycle is 5 steps. Step 1 is we call the signal. Step 2 is the support. Step 3 is the release. Then the reward. And the last step is actually we repeat. And this becomes a cycle that we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until finally the horse no longer needs the support and they respond only to the signal. That's how we know that the horse is actually understanding something. And I think what the question really is about is what to do if the horse responds right away. Like it's like you were training it, you were asking for it, and then it comes, but just before you didn't really ask for it yet. It just sort of happened. Do you quit then? Do you reward? Do you leave? Do you put your horse away? What do you do? Answer's quite simple. If it happens without you sending the signal, you need to do it again. Because even though they did what you want, you can still release and reward, but you must repeat. You must go to that last step and repeat it. Because if you put them away now, there's zero guarantee that you'll get that same result tomorrow. Zero. And I have a really simple rule I call the rule of 3. If I get a perfect response once, I got 0% chance of getting that same response tomorrow when I ask again. If I get that perfect response twice in a row, I've got about a 50% chance of getting that same response the next time I ask. So if I put my horse away, there's a 50% chance that tomorrow I'm going to get that. But if I get it 3 times in a row, I am guaranteed to get that exact same result, that exact same response tomorrow, the next time I ask. That's a fantastic question. What else we got?
So right there, this one is also about the training cycle. The person asks, can I use it to teach flexion and collection with horses? Can I use the training cycle?
That's a good question. Answer, yes, you can use it to teach flexion and collection, because if you think about, why don't you make a list of all the things you could do with a horse. You could do flying lead changes, you could do liberty, you could teach your horse to lie down, you could go on a cattle drive, you could do flexion and collection, you could do hunches in and shoulders in. The list goes on and on and on and on. So would the training cycle work for flexion and collection? Absolutely. In fact, it's imperative, because this is what masters do. In fact, I'm going to show you something real quick here. You see this? This is my hat. You can buy one of these hats. That's my logo. That's our logo. Mastery Horsemanship. Send me a note. Say, I want one of those hats. I'll send you a hat. But this is what mastery is about, is learning when to apply pressure, when to take it off, when to repeat. And it applies across all of the tasks. Every single thing you could possibly dream of doing will benefit from you slowing things down and doing the training cycle. So thank you. By the way, if you're here with us now, in a few seconds we're going to give something away. And we call it the Voice of Power. We'll tell you a little bit more about it. But I just want you to know, stick around, we're going to give something away. And while you're here, go ahead and ask a few questions. If you've got any horse-related questions, any leadership-related questions, we want to hear them. We got a couple more here.
All right, so we got a question from Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. She says, hi, and rebalance training bonding ratio as it pertains to horses' emotional learning. Will my horse learn to be more confident sooner if I mix up the low-stress training with more difficult tasks?
Ooh, did you guys hear that? She's basically saying, hey, we got some questions coming in? And wait, hey guys.
Yeah.
We do have some questions coming in.
Okay.
That's great. I love your questions. What makes it interesting? What are some good foods to eat to help give you energy? Ooh, power through the morning. Ooh, that's a really good question. Emma, I'm going to answer your question in 2 seconds. We're going to answer that question first. Yes. About the training to bonding ratio that we drew up here a second ago. Pop one of those pins open for me. Training to bonding ratio, there's got to be 50-50. So she's asking, I'm doing some pretty hard tasks. Would my horse benefit from doing some really low-level tasks to make it sort of more seamless in the training process? The answer is absolutely. In fact, a lot of people with horses, they get confused. They think that once a horse is starting to get something, they should move on to something easier. But what I'm actually going to suggest is you don't move on to anything else. You come to a complete rest and rest for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes if that's what it takes, and then get back to the exact same task. So you want to integrate bonding time directly into training time. And of course, this crosses the board in way outside of horses into your own leadership and your own life. But you want to integrate bonding time into very focused strategic sessions. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Questions? We want to invite them now if you have them. So please pop them up. Emma asked a question a second ago about food.
Yes.
People food.
People food. Get the most energy. You need things like greens. So a green smoothie in the morning, nuts.
Vegetables.
Veggies are just beautiful things. And they're going to slow release throughout the day. So a smoothie, if you can't just take greens or veggies in the morning, is a good way to mix it up. And nuts give you long-lasting energy. That's just a couple of ideas off the top of my head.
Thank you. Yes, and on that, greens are not the yummiest thing in the world. We all know that. But very, very important for our body. It helps balance the pH in our body, which is really, really hard for our blood to do on its own. So, thank you, Emma, for your question. Susan, thank you for your question. And I have to just say, Susan, I miss you like crazy. Thanks for joining. What if a horse rears? What if a horse
that goes directly
up?
to rearing? When there's confusion, not pulling, just reacts rather than responds.
Ooh, you got a horse that goes straight up when he's confused. He's not pulling, he just goes straight up in the air, but because he's reacting and not responding to what you want. That's a great question. Susan, I'm going to send you a link to the very first video we did on boundaries and then bonding and then training. When you get a negative response from your horse, it's usually a really simple fact that he's not respectful to a couple of really simple boundaries. And we're actually going to finish writing, or unpublish a book very, very soon here. It's called Horse and Leadership Training, and it's coming out very, very soon. We've been working on it night and day here. So we'll be letting you guys know all about that very, very soon. But basically, he's respecting one of the boundaries you've set disrespecting one of the boundaries you've set for him. Either it's forward, backwards, side to side. And the thing you're going to want to do is stop everything you're doing and reset that boundary. Change that one element. And don't do anything else until it's reset. And whether that's backwards or forwards or sideways. But when he does the wrong thing, just revert to the easiest, simple task of get out of my space and let's start over. And you'll have to cycle through that probably a dozen times, but by the end your horse is going to go, I guess that wasn't the answer. So it's a fantastic question. Thank you, Susan. I hope I answered that. By the way, we're not going to get to all the questions here, so after we're done here in a few minutes, we're going to get on the computer. We're going to sit down, private message each one of you, talk to each one of you who've got questions. We want to answer your questions, so thank you.
Patty says, what kind of greens? I like spinach, kale, chard, beet greens, any kind of greens you can have. And if you can't get nuts, greens are gonna be the next best thing.
Yeah, and nuts aren't green, so it's okay. You don't have to eat nuts.
And you don't, nuts aren't the be all end all, but the greens are the most important.
Yeah, the value in nuts is the oils more than anything, which you can get in other forms.
Avocado's really good for you too.
Yeah. Go green. Green.
Green.
Okay, so we're about to give something away. It's called the Voice of Power, and what it is a way to help people who, if you remember the scale from 0 to 10, and if you're below 5 and your energy's too low, you're going to be fine if you're in the 4 and the 3 range. You're just a little too low. You just need a little help. You just have to remember what's important, snap yourself to attention, get some higher energy. But if you're really below that 3 mark, and you need something to bring you back to life, what we've created is a thing called the Voice of Power, and it's a motivational speech series of speeches. It's a $400 product spread out over the course of a month. We're going to give away a trial of it to somebody who desperately needs it. And so what we want you to do is... Is
that my turn? It's my turn to stand in. All right. So what we want to do is message us or email us why you would like the Voice of Power. And we will pick someone by Friday and we'll let them know. We did have a winner last week. Congratulations. You know who you are. But we just don't want to just say people's names and things just for
'cause
privacy.
It's private. It's personal and it's private. If you want to make a breakthrough, here's what you do. You contact us through private message or email, and we're going to pick a winner over the next 4 or 5 days and let that person know. And again, what this is life-changing motivation for you on a personal level.
Right, and I want to explain it just a little bit more, if I may. So what you're going to do, whoever wins, and it can be for you or a friend, and when you message us, you say why you think you need it. But if you're going through a hard time, or you want to lose weight, you want motivation, any reason, what we'll do is we'll send you a link to a form. You'll fill out the form telling us all your dreams, goals, desires, what's holding you back, where you want to go. Then we write a personal message for you. We make an audio for you to listen to. And then we send that to you with music, and it's personal to you. There's a lot of motivational things you can listen to, but they don't say your name. They don't say your exact circumstances. And so it really hits the spot. So we just want to help people. We're really excited about it, and that's why we're giving away a free trial.
We're excited about it, and it works like you wouldn't believe it works. There's a few of you
really
who are watching now. Thank you, Patty, for your comments. It's extraordinarily useful, and it's not just for people with low energy. It's for people with low self-esteem. It's for people with no motivation to go and do and achieve. It's for people with too much energy, too much excitement, too much anxiety, and they're worried. It's about changing the way you think so that you can experience the life that you want. It's part of what makes us who we are, and we have 1,000 stories to help you understand it more. But simply, again, what do they have to do?
Send us a Facebook message, an email, tell us why you want it, or why you have a friend who really needs it. And we're going to pick one person to receive that.
All right, thank you. That's how you do it. So I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you. Love you guys.
You guys are awesome. I will see you all very soon.
See you next Tuesday.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.